Hi guys, I'm Nathan.
And I'm Haley.
And the other day we went out to get some frozen yogurt, and while we were out there was a store down the road that, well, it was a pet store, and we decided to go over there and check it out.
Yeah, and we walked in and we managed to walk out with 2 betta fish.
Yes, so now we have to go ahead and get their tank ready, get them all settled in. Interesting thing about betta fish are that typically you can put them in a really tiny tank and that's good, but it really isn't good.
Yeah, people tend to have them in small tanks and they're sold in little tanks, but I think they're sold that way because they can't be together. The males will fight and kill each other. So it's easier to have a bunch of little bowls for them to be in when they're selling them in the pet store rather than a bunch of giant tanks. So when you get them, you'll get a small either bag or little plastic box that they come in. Don't let that deceive you. You should put them in a tank that's at least 2.5 gallons. 5 gallons is wonderful if you can go that big. So we decided to take a 5-gallon tank,
which we already had down in the basement on a shelf, collecting dust for the last several years.
Yeah, because he always wanted to have fish and we just haven't done it yet. So finally.
Yeah, because betta fish are so easy.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
It's a good choice.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of rigging to our 5.5-gallon tank, as you can see, and we divided it so the fish get like just over 2.5 gallons of swimming space, which is really good.
Yeah, and then they can't see each other because it's black plexiglass, which is really important because if they can see each other through whatever you might have divided your tank with, they will still try to get to each other, and they most likely will get to each other and kill each other. So you really want to be careful with that.
So in order to put the black plexiglass into the fish tank, we had to modify the fish tank. We went and put this pink towel over top of the water so that when I would go and use my Dremel, we wouldn't get any like black plasticky stuff in the water, since the water's already been acclimated for the fish. And then I found the center of the tank where you can see I have marked. I took my Dremel and just started cutting into it, being very careful not to hit the glass. Okay, so there we go. I cut the notch in both sides, and that'll be ready for the piece of black plexiglass that will divide the tank. I measured the depth of the tank to get an accurate measurement to make my final cut in the black plexiglass. I took that measurement, I marked it on the plexiglass, and I took a sharp razor knife and made a score mark in the plexiglass. Then, lining that score mark up with the edge of the counter, I took a piece of wood to hold the plexiglass firmly in place, and with one quick movement, I snapped the plexiglass right on the line. Alright, now the fun part, peeling the backing off the plexiglass.
It's so satisfying.
It's so shiny.
Yeah, it is. You're going to get your fingerprints all over it. Ah! Rude.
And now we just slide it into place and see if it works. Okay, we also had to notch out the lid so that that would fit over top of the plexiglass and make a nice seal. We went through the process over the last several days of getting the water acclimated, letting the chlorine evaporate out of the water, bring it to room temperature, letting the fish go ahead and acclimate to that water while they're still in the little boxes.
Yeah, that's really important. You always want to float your fish, which is you put them in their bag or in their little box in the water. So the water in the tank and the water in their personal bubble becomes the same temperature.
Yeah, that way you don't shock them.
Yeah, you'll shock them. That's not good. So.
Yeah. So, we went ahead. Did I say we washed the gravel?
No, we have to wash the gravel. That's important too, because it comes with bad stuff on it. Excuse the loud noise. So just rinsing it off, swishing it around. This might not be a big enough container. And then I'll rinse it off through a colander later.
Yeah, so really wash the gravel thoroughly.
Just with like water though, not soap. Never use any soap to wash anything that goes in the fish tank.
Let's see, what else?
We washed the decorations, the accessories that we're putting in. We each kind of decided our own theming and coloring and all that, so that's kind of fun.
And you'll see that as we decorate the tank.
Yeah.
Okay, fun little trick. We're going to put the rocks here in this bag, and we'll do that so we can get them to the bottom of the tank without disturbing the water too much. So let's see if it works.
Yeah, I totally made this up, so we're going to check it out and see if it works. Then they're not just like floating through the water and making everything white.
It seemed to work pretty well. Now it's my turn. Let's see if I can do as well as Haley. Yeah.
Let's see if we're even.
Are we?
I'd say we're pretty even. Just in the back a little. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful.
Cool. I think we should go ahead and decorate the tank now.
Yeah.
Haley's getting a towel so we can dry off when we're done, and I'm having the hardest time figuring out how I want to landscape or seascape this. You think with me being a former landscaper, I'd have a really good knack at doing this, but I'm struggling.
I think that's why it's difficult, because he is so artistic and creative and a little bit perfectionistic.
Very perfectionistic.
So wants to get it just right. But have fun when you're decorating your tank. I mean, I don't know. The decorations are a lot for us and a little bit for the fish. They do like to hide behind things and under things. So whenever you can give them a good hiding space, that's always smart and good to do. Try to avoid lots and lots of neon colors. At least that's something I read, because you want it to be slightly natural for them. Color's okay, but from what I read, you might not want to go too crazy. I don't know if it's really important or not.
So we had this wonderful idea, because I had this 2 parts of a broken ship, about putting half on either side.
So something else we got are these little moss balls, if you can see that. It's just this little fluffy round piece of moss, and it helps filter and aerate the water a little bit. So we each got one for our sides, so I'll put mine in.
Yeah, this allows you to not have to have a big filter and have that going, because betta fish, they're good with natural organisms like this in the water with them.
Yeah, they won't fight that. Yeah, they're not the type of fish that need a lot of filtering. They also, because of their beautiful fins, they can't deal with a heavy filter, like a very strong one that creates a current, because it'll just take them all over the place. So we just went with this. They're I guess surface breathers or whatever mostly anyway, so a lot of times they'll come up to the surface to get air.
Yeah. So
there's our fun little facts about bettas.
yeah, definitely do your research before you get any type of animal.
Yeah.
I say that because there's so many times that people come up to us and wonder what Kita is, what type of breed he is. He's a Shiba Inu and a Sheltie mix, and everybody's like, oh, a Shiba Inu, I want to get a Shiba Inu. They are very difficult breeds. So like I said, just really do your research.
Yep. You're buying or rescuing a life. Even though it's an animal life, it's a life. So they want to have a good life too.
Yeah. So now that we got our tanks decorated, we need to bring the water level up a little bit. We'll use some of the water that's in the tank that has my fish at the moment.
And then my fish is in a little container as well that has some water in it. So that'll raise it a bit.
Yeah.
If we need to add some later, we'll just let some water sit out in a container at some point and until the chlorine evaporates, and then we'll just add it into there.
Yeah. I mean, you can buy the fancy betta fish water, or you can do this method. Just make sure if you have water that is treated, that it just has chlorine in the water and it doesn't, or it's not treated with chloramine.
Yeah, chloramine does not evaporate out. Chlorine does, apparently.
Yes.
All right, let's put our fishies in. Maybe we'll introduce you to them too.
We have our fish in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to go ahead and put them in the tank and let them enjoy their new surroundings.
Yeah, and put them in gently. You don't want to just like dump them in too much.
No.
Oh, I love it.
We actually decided on some names for our fish.
Finally, yeah.
Yes, I figured it out like the first time I saw. Well, he was Captain Jack, which kind of drew me to him since I do a pretty darn good Captain Jack cosplay. You can find that up here. But I ended up going with Schmutz. I forgot what I was going to go with. I was going to say Smudge, but it's Schmutz. I went with Schmutz because of his coloration. He looks like a schmutz, something you would want to go and like rub off or something.
Here, you got something.
Yeah, exactly, like that.
And I went with, now no one's going to know what this is, but I went with velaris, or if you prefer velaris.
If you do know what it is or where it's from, let us know in the comments below.
And I'm going to tell you what it's from. It's from, maybe I'll hint at it. It's from a book series that I read. It's one of my favorite book series. And it's a city. It's Velaris, City of Starlight. So I figure he was Velaris, Fishy of Starlight.
I like that. So you can see we each kind of did themes. I did like a orange and yellow and brown theme with some green accents.
And I did a lot of like just white with that pop of blue. I wanted to bring out the blue in my fish itself. He also has kind of like a nice like turquoise color with a red in the middle. It's really interesting.
Hopefully you liked how we went ahead and rigged this up using a piece of plexiglass that I bought off of Amazon for like $10. Slid that down in and voila, we have 2 tanks in one and 2 betta fish that will not fight each other.
Yeah.
So until next time.
So long.
Farewell.
Namarie.
Nothing like petting your fish.